Oh, hello. Joshua Philipp is on the Adult in the Room podcast. He's an investigative journalist at the Epic Times. He also does a daily program, and I am so pleased to have you today. Joshua, how are you?
Hey, pleasure being here, and yeah, doing well. No shortage of news, right? So that's one thing.
Yeah, no question about it. The story that you have certain expertise on, this is actually really an important story because we've had some stories about organ donations and how things are kind of weird. I mean, all of a sudden, the former law firm of Stephen Miller, America First Legal, they're bringing a lawsuit against HHS for the how in disrepair in which the organ transplant program is. And then you have the rest of the story. Thanks so much for coming on the Adult in the Room podcast. Hey, your podcast Crossroads is really great. It really is.
Oh,
So
I
thank
really
you.
appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank
And
you.
yeah, there was the report from HHS recently. I mean, wild stuff. Basically, they did a study, just over 300 different cases, and they found a large number, like 25, 27%. The individuals who were not quite dead. It turned out they still had brain
I'm starting to
signs going
laugh.
on. Oh, I know, it's crazy.
I mean, it's insane. So,
I mean,
so people,
that's bad because I'm not gonna sign up for it now, you know what I mean?
I know. So there,
Yeah.
in some cases, let's see, there, you talk about in your Crossroads piece that you went over. The HHS said, hey, there were some people who weren't brain dead. There were some people for whom their blood was still flowing and pumping. Their hearts hadn't stopped. And as we discussed with Hulk Hogan, everybody always stops because of heart failure. Okay, that's so. So you're not dead if your heart's still pumping. And these things were just outrageous. I mean, to say the very least.
Well, I mean, it's a horror story. Imagine, for example, I mean, let alone yourself, but imagine someone you love gets in a car accident or something like that. They're in a coma. You know that they're still alive, their heart's still beating. Normally, the standard they have with organ transplants, if you sign up to be a donor, your heart can still be beating. What they look for is brain activity. And
Oh,
so they
okay.
say, okay, if you're brain dead, we can take you and take your organs and sell them. And it's a for-profit industry, of course. And
Yes, of
so
course.
then they do that. The issue you have sometimes is that sometimes people recover. Sometimes people are not fully brain dead. And apparently, with what the HHS found, this was not like across the board. Apparently, it was some of the individual organizations that were doing this. They found it was mostly like small towns. The biggest cases they found was mostly like drug overdoses,
Oh,
and apparently these individuals should not have had their organs removed. They should not have been killed for it. So yeah, pretty terrible stuff.
what? Oh, because they're on fentanyl or something and they just look dead?
We can assume. I mean, they didn't say what they were on, but I my assumption is fentanyl because I'm in New York City. You see these fentanyl zombie looking people like
Yeah.
kind of crouched over and passed
Yes.
out on the sidewalk all the time.
Yeah. They're human tacos and they're on trank as well as fentanyl. So it's
Yeah.
just, and by the way, fentanyl is getting a little bit more difficult to get. But not maybe in New York City since all of it's coming from Canada now. So, but now you're a China expert and you have followed the story of how this happens, this organ donation, which is involuntary donations in China, and you were appalled that such a thing could be happening in the country, in our country.
Yeah. Well, the China stuff is horrible. I think a lot of people have probably heard by now that China harvests the organs of oftentimes political dissidents or religious believers.
Mm.
Recently there was a big story. I believe it was the Telegraph UK came out with it, and they said that in Xinjiang province, the Chinese regime is about to increase the number of organ harvesting hospitals by about threefold. And that brings about a lot of concerns because in Xinjiang province, they're killing a lot of the Uyghurs, which is like one of the minority groups there. And they use them for slave labor. They're one of the big
Sure.
groups they use for the garment industry.
Yeah.
But I mean, this is terrifying stuff. There was a tribunal in the United Kingdom not too long back, And they actually were investigating some of these claims, and they affirmed that the Chinese Communist Party has, at a very large scale, apparently, been harvesting the organs, killing people in the process, killing people who practice Falun Dafa, also known as Falun Gong, which is like a Chinese meditation practice based in truthfulness, compassion, tolerance. The Chinese Communist Party regards them as a threat to the quote unquote atheistic rule of the Communist Party, and
Mm.
decided that all, 70 million, 100 million have to be eradicated. And so, yeah, they created a for-profit industry to kill people. It's horrifying.
Now, in the United States, there are organizations that oversee this, or we thought they were. What's going on there?
Well, that's the one RFK Jr. is investigating right now. So, I mean, this should hopefully relieve some people. RFK Jr. says they are going to be holding people accountable. They are looking into this, so they're not just going to make it okay. You accidentally harvested somebody's organs who still had brain activity. You might actually see some criminal charges on this.
Yeah, they
And,
should
and
be.
remember also, this comes on the heels of the federal government also charging a lot of doctors and medical workers and even like gangs and scammers who were just defrauding the medical system. So they
Mm.
are looking into these kinds of issues right now.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, every day I see another indictment of somebody who's
Yeah,
getting racked up on Medicare fraud, or
a
it's
lot of
just
it.
having to do with COVID. A lot of, oh, they got 50 times 50x what they were supposed to get, and so then somebody went on a really nice vacation and got a Lambo and a house on some
Get a few
island.
of them. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Well, what are you working on in your next crossroads? Because I want to know.
Oh, well, so I'm actually working on some investigations right now. My next big one, one that I've already recorded. We're editing it right now.
Hmm.
I have a feature. I can talk about it, I guess. I have a feature that we're hopefully releasing within a few weeks, that looks into the all the artificial food colorings. And
Oh,
my big question was, well, we know that a lot of food companies, they have alternate versions already for Europe and Canada where they don't have these artificial food colors. Why is it that the Canadian government restricted these? Why is it that the European Union restricted these? And how is it that US FDA has, for the most part, not?
hmm.
What information are they looking at that our government is not looking at? And that was the big question I wanted to answer.
Oh, I like it. I mean, I know you're not supposed to go in with a conclusion and find the evidence to stack up behind your conclusion, unlike the Russia documents.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, unlike that
but
one.
uh, you kind of wonder. Maybe it's just easier and cheaper for them to use all that stuff. You just never know, and they just go, okay,
I don't
well,
know why they do it. I can tell you what I discovered though, which is very interesting. So the studies are all the same. The studies that they're looking at in the United States are the same studies they're looking at in Europe. The issue is this. So it turns out in the US, we have something called grass, not the stuff that cows eat. Grass, which is GRAS, which means generally regarded as safe.
uh-oh.
And apparently, this is what is used to take a lot of what we believe are harmful chemicals and what some studies deem as harmful chemicals and say they're safe to eat. So guess who makes the determination? Generally regarded as safe. Guess who it is who generally regards it as safe?
I don't know. Is it somebody who works for the food industry?
And spot on. It's the
Ah,
food
I
industry. Being you win.
know.
So imagine that, right? The guy trying to sell you it says, "Hey, it's 100% safe, verified by the experts." And you're like, "Oh, well, who are the experts?" He's like, "Well, me. Well, I'm the expert."
Yeah.
you know, and and the issue is with food colorings. Okay, this is the problem. There are studies proving all kinds of crazy stuff, but the problem is the worst findings were done on animals.
Hmm.
They've done very few studies on humans, and the way that they've tried writing that off is they say, well, what is harmful to animals is not necessarily harmful to humans. We don't believe it would affect humans in the same way. And then you're like, well, did you study it? And they're like, well, no. No, we didn't study it.
Mm,
And then you're like, well, what human studies have you done? They've done some minor studies on kids, and they did find that most of these food colorings, the ones they're looking to ban, that they actually do affect a child's attention and hyperactivity, and so ADHD, right? That is the thing they've been able to prove to an extent. The industry
really?
says otherwise, but the
Mhm.
problem is they don't really study it. There's no real studies on it that could be used to disprove it, and that's the grounds they use to say, "Hey, safe and effective. Don't question it."
Mhm. What was the acronym you said? GRAS? What did it stand for
GRAS,
again?
GRAS, generally regarded as safe,
Wow, high
according
standards.
according to the company.
Woo! That's
Yeah.
just unbelievable.
Well,
I've
yeah.
never been I don't like people messing with my food. I don't like it when there's top-down stuff from the government. I don't like them telling me what I can and cannot eat. But then there are some things that are very fundamental to safety, and that's when you have to defer to supposed experts, and we've been doing that for generations, and they've been wrong a lot. So I'm glad that things are starting to change. And
Well, the real crazy thing, again, I mentioned they haven't really done many studies on humans, but the animal studies are terrifying. If you go over the effects of, like, I mainly tried to limit this investigation just on the chemicals that RFK Jr. is specifically saying he wants to ban. The food colorings, not the whole
mhm,
list.
yeah.
But if you go by the animal studies, it's like they cause like neurological damage, cellular damage, tumors, cancer. I mean, it's crazy.
What are they just putting, huge proportions in there? They like concentrate, it's like you have to have 50,000 cupcakes for it to be bad for you. And 50,000 cupcakes in one sitting, you know what I'm saying? So is it that kind of a thing, or is it just the de
It's one thing
minimis
if they put
amounts?
it in a drink and you drink a drink or you eat a candy bar. It's another thing when you understand that some people, they're eating processed food all day long, or they're
Mm,
drinking soda all day long. And the other side of it, which RFK Jr. even raised, is even beyond the lack of studies on the individual chemicals. There
mhm.
are basically no studies on what happens when you combine them.
Oh,
And then
yes,
you
yes.
understand the fact that oftentimes we're drinking cocktails of them, we're eating cocktails of them. It's like through water, through air pollution, through soil pollution. I
Interesting.
mean, and then you let alone the food. We're just creating like petri dishes in our own bodies of all these different things, and we don't know the effects of it. There are no studies on that.
Mm. My daughters are mothers themselves, and they they won't feed their kids certain things. They just won't. They're just very they're not. I didn't bring them up to be granola eaters either. I mean, we just sort of had a normal upbringing, and they started reading, and they go, "Oh no, oh no, 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 we're not doing that." Both of them had to use, or no, I guess some two of my family members had to use formula, and they refused to buy American formula. They did it in
Yeah.
Switzerland. They went online and got it in Switzerland for these same reasons. And
Yeah, well,
yeah,
the
it's
the
really
baby formula is a whole other issue
yeah.
because they find the American-made baby formula, it causes obesity, it causes swelling, and there's
Oh,
all these regulations
swelling.
on like
That's wild.
natural milk products from animals. But if you go to Europe, it's really simple. The baby formula in Europe is mostly animal milk, but they do it in a way that's perfectly healthy for the babies. There's no issues, and it doesn't cause all the weird side effects that baby formula here has. So
Wow.
a lot of it's caused by the regulations here that really,
Hmm.
I think, messes it up.
Wow. Joshua Phillip, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today. I really appreciate you coming on, and we'll watch yours, Crossroads. And thank you so much for the work you do for Epic Times. Appreciate it.
Great, my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.